Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle and today we're going to talk about a personality that I just adore. I love talking to these people because it is just so much random goodness that it never stops. Like a conversation with this personality type will never stop and I absolutely love that. So what we're going to talk about today is one of my favorite personality types of the 16, and that is the ENTP. And we're going to talk about what it is that makes them really awesome and why, if you are this type, an ENTP, you should be proud of who you are and proud of the type that you have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just hop right on into it. Before we really dive into the specifics, I want to lay down just the basic framework of what it means to be an ENTP. And to be an ENTP, it means that you have these four main cognitive functions. That is extroverted intuition, introverted thinking, extroverted feeling, and introverted sensing. Very similar to the ENFP, but different enough that we look at the world from different lenses and our conversations are amazing. I'm going to make a whole video actually on just why ENTPs and ENFPs can have some of the best conversations. But right now we're going to talk about specifically the great attributes of the ENTP. The first cognitive function, the way that ENTPs see the world and experience the world and interact with the world, is with their extroverted intuition. Extroverted intuition is all about the possibilities. What could be? What would happen if we took this and put them together? How would this work? How would it play out? Would it work properly? Would it not work properly? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And they take all these possibilities and they can just completely consider the most outrageous of concepts, the most out there, beyond the wall, just crazy concepts they can think about and consider for a moment. There is almost nothing that an ENTP won't consider for just a moment. I mean, they might completely disregard it eventually, but they will almost always consider it for at least a second, because what's really interesting about extroverted intuition is there's this sort of feeling like closing off a possibility is an awful feeling. And so it's really important that all options are explored, at least thought about to some capacity. And so extroverted intuition allows them to come up with the crazy combinations, which, at first look don't feel like they should be connected, but when an ENTP takes it and they connect them, there is almost always some kind of interesting combination that can be made. Now, I'm talking more so specifically conceptually they combine things, less so than physically like an ESTP or ESFP. They're taking two ideas, bringing them together, and they're saying, what would happen if these two things were in the same room? What would happen if this and this happened at the same time? Or, what if we took this particular item, combined it with this particular item? Now we could use it for X, Y, and Z purposes. And they're very head in the clouds, thinking about these possibilities all the time, and they filter those possibilities through their introverted thinking. What makes sense? Will it work? Does it actually have any grounding? Is there any benefit to this? What would happen? Would it work? Does it make sense? Introverted thinking more often than not is asking the question, does this make sense? This is something that makes ENTPs incredibly good at quick debates because they can see the possibilities, because they can combine these different ideas, and because then they filter that through, does it make sense? Does it work? They can then harness different arguments very quickly. They can take an argument, they can hear what somebody else is saying, consider it, understand where the other person is coming from, and then counter that with an equally opposite possibility. And they love doing that because they want to explore as many possibilities as possible. And they are so good at just taking the most off the wall, complete opposite perspectives of whoever they're talking with and debating something until nothing makes sense anymore. They're really good at taking it to where you just nothing makes sense. But to me, that's really, really fun. There's a lot to enjoy about just having all these different concepts, considering whether or not they're actually going to work and whether or not they actually make sense, and just playing around with ideas. That's what they do. They play around with ideas and with concepts, and they really, really enjoy and honestly can't help and can't stop themselves from doing this. And then what softens this, because that can come off as a little bit of an aggressive thing sometimes, maybe a little bit cold and impartial. They have extroverted feeling as their third slot, which means that they highly value it but can turn it off if they need to in lieu of the logic. But extroverted feeling in that third slot there, it makes it to where they want to have a good environment. They want to be around people who are willing to talk and debate with them. They want to have interesting, engaging conversations. And because they have extroverted feeling there, what they can do is they can help make people feel comfortable sharing their ideas. Or oppositely, they can, poke people right in the place where it hurts until they argue, which is kind of a negative, but could also be a positive, especially if you have somebody who really is unwilling to consider a different perspective. The ENTP is really good at getting that person riled up and getting the conversation going to the point where they can then bring in this other concept, this other possibility. ENTPs can be incredibly warm, caring, friendly people. They're a lot of fun to be around because they just want to have fun. They want to have good conversations. They want people to be engaged in the conversation. They want to feed their extroverted intuition with more concepts, more new possibilities. And the more that they can get that, the better, which means they'll bring a lot of people around them who can then help them come up with more concepts. They will bring people who think differently than them so that they can bounce ideas off this person and they can continue to come up with new, crazier possibilities. And it's a lot of fun in a conversation with an ENTP because although they could poke at you and make you upset in order to get the conversation going, oppositely, they can be really good at encouraging you to open up and at encouraging you to have a good time. A lot of ENTPs that I know really like to just chat with people, anyone, and just have these conversations. And so it kind of sounds like they can be really extroverted, but ironically, it's all about the possibilities. So it doesn't necessarily require that other people be there. They can do this very, very well on their own. They can come up with these crazy ideas, possibilities. They can ponder and think about things a lot, and they love to do that, and it doesn't require other people being around them. They can do that on their own just as much, and oftentimes do really enjoy having these kinds of thoughts on their own. Because what happens next is they have introverted sensing. Introverted sensing is about forming an awareness of the self. It's about building habits and structure that can help make sure that they're in an environment where they can really have a lot of those possibilities come up. So although it's a little weaker and they really prefer not to have too much structure, because obviously too much structure is going to take away from their ability to have new concepts and new ideas. But when they harness that introverted sensing and create just enough control of their environment and their self, they can have that beautiful balance between being willing to engage in these crazy ideas and what ifs, but also be chill and down to earth and actually take care of things. They can be messy, sure, and more often than not, they are, but they also can learn how not to be. And when they do that, they can be really great at work, especially because they know how to get the work done, and they will get the work done because they've come up with the perfect way to get things done. And they might tinker and play with this idea of the perfect way to get things done, but they can repeat it and they can do it again and again. Granted, they're going to want to keep coming up with new ways to do something because the repetitiveness can be really tiresome. But when they harness that introverted sensing, they are just they're just a joy to work with and to just have great conversations with. I absolutely love chatting with ENTPs because the conversation is never boring. It is absolutely never boring with an ENTP. No one can say that they had a boring conversation with an ENTP unless the ENTP themselves was also bored, or maybe perhaps they were purposely making the conversation boring. For whatever reason, they were testing out some kind of theory, which could happen, but very unlikely. I love the ENTP personality type, and I know that this was a relatively quick overview of what the ENTP is like, and there's definitely a lot more to them than what I mentioned. But my question to you is, what do you think about the ENTP? Do you know ENTPs? Do you think that my description of them is accurate? Do you have anything you want to add or subtract to my understanding of the ENTPs, or my description of, because I'm trying to condense an entire personality into a 10-minute video. And if you are an ENTP, I want to say you should be absolutely proud of who you are and your natural skills. ENTPs are awesome and I love them. Like I said a million times, one of my absolute favorite personality types to chat with because we just have some of the best conversations ever. The conversation never dulls, it never gets boring, and it's always engaging and exciting. I literally have talked to ENTPs for full days. Like I'm talking like 8 to 9 hours of just chatting with them nonstop. It like literally didn't stop. It was amazing. That being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see the rest of the series completed, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you want to support this channel and what I do, you can check out Patreon, or you could join the Discord and join the rest of us who just want to chat about personality and other random stuff. It's a lot of fun. We need more ENTP, so please come join. Join the chaos. It's great. We need more of you. And with that, I want to thank you again so much for watching and supporting this channel just by watching this video, and I really, really hope that you have a beautiful, amazing, fantastic day. Bye!